All right, what is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, as always. And today I have the luxury of being joined by my friend Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com. And we are going to preview the Kansas City Chiefs' upcoming matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Wildcard round. So, Josh, this is going to be a pretty good matchup. The Chiefs are facing off against the Steelers at home in a playoff game. And these two teams just met like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, how are you feeling, first of all, about this game? And how you doing, my friend?
Well, I'm doing pretty well, and, coming off what we just did, because we recorded something for my channel, I almost feel a little bit awkward, because it's like,
nothing that we talked about in the last video ever happened. This is a new slate. We never talked about anything relating to this game.
Yeah, we'll go with that. But no, anyway, this is the best matchup the Chiefs could have gotten, really. There was a scenario where they could have played the Raiders. That still would have been favorable. But honestly, I would be a little more afraid of the Raiders just because I think they're a little more versatile than the Steelers. The Steelers, just to me, they pose no threat. And it's not like they faced each other back in Week 6 and both of them have, progressed since then. I mean, these teams just played. We saw what happened. The Chiefs blew them out without a bunch of their star players. Why should I expect them to now lose?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And, a lot of Chiefs fans were disappointed that the Chiefs did not get the number 1 seed and the Titans ended up getting it. But this matchup's almost better than having a bye week because the Chiefs can go out in this game against a inferior opponent with their star players and blow them out in front of everybody in what's a tune-up game. This is going to give the Chiefs every opportunity to get ready and get set for a championship run. And this is the perfect opponent because, we could have played the Raiders, but playing a team twice and beating them twice is hard. Playing them 3 times and beating them 3 times is even harder. So I'm not saying we couldn't beat the Raiders, but playing the Pittsburgh Steelers that we're going to talk about it, they're so limited on offense. It's a better matchup for the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't have to, exude as much energy because the Steelers just are not a very good football team. And I've said this on countless different channels and on countless different interviews. The Pittsburgh Steelers will not beat the Kansas City Chiefs because of Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger cannot throw the ball more than 25 yards in the air, and it handicaps their offense. Najee Harris is great. He's a good running back running behind a Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line that, let's be honest, it's terrible, but he hasn't practiced all week. And Ben Roethlisberger, and I want to get your thoughts on this, he came out and said some very surprising things. And, I'm going to pull up the quote here really quickly because, you expect a quarterback that is going in as a heavy underdog to say, all right, we are the underdog, but we're going to fight our absolute best, and we're going to come into this game and show the world what we can do. That didn't happen yesterday, 2 days ago when they interviewed Ben Roethlisberger. He said, as a group, you understand that we probably aren't supposed to be here. We're probably not a very good football team. Out of 14 teams I think are in, we're probably number 14. We don't have a chance, so let's just go in and have fun. Those comments coming from the starting quarterback of a playoff team, to me, it just shows weakness. I don't like it. But what are your thoughts on those crazy comments?
So, first of all, I actually watched the video in which he said it, and he says it so flat and monotone that I almost couldn't really tell if it was sarcasm if he really meant that. Now, I do think in the very back of his head, he truly believes what he said, even though he meant it as sarcasm. But I can't really say that I have a problem with him saying that, since he's just trying to get himself in the team bulletin material. We see the Chiefs do that all the time. They're a petty team. They like to fire back at media pundits and stuff of that nature whenever they say something, and then the Chiefs come out and prove them wrong on the field. But I coming from him at this point in the season, I can understand why people would have a problem with it. I also noticed that his teammate Najee Harris posted something on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw that, which got deleted.
He did not seem to agree with the comments whatsoever. He seemed to have a problem with what his quarterback said. And then you have also teammates, on the other side of things, like I think it was Deontay Johnson today, who said something totally contradictory basically said we're going to beat the Chiefs and don't hop on the bandwagon later on when we do. So I don't think they don't seem to be on the same page.
Yeah, that's not surprising. And, a lot of people, and specifically people who bet against the Chiefs, are saying, oh, Mike Tomlin's such a great head coach. He's going to have his guys prepared and ready to play. I don't care if they're prepared and ready to play. They're not a good football team. That's like giving the Lions time to prepare. And the Lions tied with them earlier this year. Like, it's not like the Steelers are some juggernaut that was able to get into the playoffs, and what happened in Week 16 was a fluke. They got killed at Arrowhead Stadium without Travis Kelce, with Tyreek Hill playing like 2 drives, and Patrick Mahomes cut up their defense with Byron Pringle, Derek Gore, and Darrell Williams. Nothing about the Pittsburgh Steelers should scare me. Nothing. And Najee Harris, who hasn't practiced at all this week, if he doesn't play in this game, I don't know where you fall on this, but the Steelers have virtually no shot at winning this game, because in any big-time moment when they need to get tough yards, Najee Harris is the guy. He is a focal part of their offense in just his rookie season, and without that guy, Ben Roethlisberger, as we have discussed probably hundreds of thousands of times, and for Chiefs Kingdom we're probably repeating ourselves, Ben Roethlisberger's washed. He can't throw the ball more than 25 yards in the air, and unless they result to some gadget play or he just gets magical arm strength again, they're not going to win.
Well, with or without Najee Harris, they have zero chance. But yeah, if they don't have Najee Harris, that makes it even less of a chance that they win. But here's the thing. They were able to bottle up Najee Harris pretty well the last time these two teams played. Actually, I think, he had 19 carries for 93 yards the last time these two teams played, but he didn't take over the game. He didn't beat you bad enough to where they really made you worry at any point. And I think that was what the Chiefs defense was going for. They just wanted to, limit they wanted to limit their offense as a whole. It didn't really matter if Najee Harris got his 100 yards or not. I think some of those did come in garbage time anyway. But like Melvin Ingram made plays in the backfield in that game. I already mentioned it. They did not have Nick Bolton in that first matchup. Nick Bolton's one of the best run stoppers on the Chiefs. They're going to have him back for this game. Bottom line, if the Steelers beat the Chiefs, it'll be one of the biggest playoff upsets in the last 25 years.
Yeah, and I'll even go as far to say this. If the Chiefs lost to the Steelers, I would be furious. I'd probably break something. I don't know what, but I would be furious. But at the same time, if this Kansas City Chiefs team, who won 8 straight games before losing to the Bengals, if this same Kansas City Chiefs team loses to the Pittsburgh Steelers with the equivalent to me as a starting quarterback and nothing else, it would be maddening, but at the same time, they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. If that happens, it just wasn't meant to be. But there is no excuse to lose this game. There's none, because you're just flat out a better team, and I think in every aspect, you've got the leg up. You've got the advantage in every single phase of the game. And offensively, I want to get your thoughts on the Chiefs offense going up against this Steelers defense that has, I guess, missed a step from previous years. We're used to kind of the steel curtain and stuff that is a lot more defensive sound, and the Steelers have had a good defense for a long time now. But it seems to be a little bit different this year. But I will say that the front four of Cam Hayward and TJ Watt, who's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, they've got 12 sacks in the past 2 games, which is something to look at. But, what's your concern level with the Chiefs offense going up against the Steelers defense?
I don't really have a ton of concern. As we mentioned, this team, the Chiefs, they blew out the Steelers without Travis Kelce, without Tyreek Hill. Byron Pringle went off in that game. He put the entire Steelers defense on skates. I expect a lot of the same, especially with the injury scares with Kelce and Hill. They're going to suit up, they're going to play, but the Chiefs are going to get other guys involved, like McCole Hardman, like Byron Pringle, like they did in that game and against the Broncos in the last game of the regular season. I would expect a lot of that. The only part of the Steelers defense that scares me is, of course, that pass rush, but I don't think it's enough to really change the game at all. That pass rush is about all they have to show for. They are not good at stopping the run, and their pass defense is nothing to write home about. And even like the second level of their defense, Devin Bush, the linebacker, he's not nearly as good as he was before that injury that he had. I believe it was last year. If the Chiefs just stay the course and play a C-plus game or better, they're going to win, and they're going to win handily.
And, I completely agree with what you just said. And I think it's very important that the Chiefs don't overlook the Pittsburgh Steelers because any given Sunday, any team can win in the NFL. It's the NFL playoffs. Crazier things have happened. But the Chiefs are favored, I believe, by 12.5 points. This is easily the most lopsided game in the playoffs. I just feel like with everything you've got going in your favor, if you just put somewhat of a good game out, if you go, let's just say if you put up 25 points and it's just kind of a rough game for Mahomes, he's off sync with his receivers and he's just kind of struggling to get his footing because the pass rush is so good from the Steelers, 25 points is good enough to beat this Steelers team. It took four quarters in overtime for the Steelers to beat the Ravens with a practice squad secondary, and they could only put up 16 points. Like, this Steelers offense is so handicapped by Ben Roethlisberger that the Chiefs offense, if they just show up and play their B game, maybe even their C game, it shouldn't really be close. But, we kind of talked about this in a different video. What is your thoughts on the Chiefs possibly resting their guys if they were in a position to do so? Do you think that would be a good idea or a bad idea? Or at what point in the game would it be smart for the Chiefs to take out their guys?
I think anywhere in the game, if they're up by more than 2 touchdowns, that would be the point where I start to pull some guys out. Maybe not completely, but, limit their snaps. Like Kelsey and Hill, you don't need to be out there every offensive snap of every single drive if you're up by 13 points or 16 points, something like that. It's wacky that we're talking about a scenario where the Chiefs could rest starters in a postseason game. And I also think it shows, and I know this is a little bit off topic, that the 17-game season and the new playoff format is a complete joke. It doesn't have the effect that I think the NFL quite wanted. Because we're going to get playoff matchups like these. And I know people are still going to tune in. They're going to watch the games, and that's all the NFL cares about. But, if they have an opportunity to rest starters, you do it. I know some people might be a little bit pissed off if the Chiefs do it, earlier than some think, and the Steelers are going to kind of take that personally, like, oh, you really think that low of us, but I don't think the Chiefs really care, and they really shouldn't. As long as if it betters their chances of winning a Super Bowl, then they should do it.
Do you think that overlooking the Steelers is a pretty big possibility? And if they do, does it matter? Could the Chiefs still win? Because I think that they could.
I think even if they overlook them and they get punched in the mouth early, it's a game that they should win. Like I said, if they don't win, it's going to be one of the biggest playoff upsets in the last 25 years. The Chiefs should still absolutely win this game. And I don't think they're overlooking the Steelers. We, as fans, kind of overlook the Steelers. But I think the Chiefs have earned the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they're overlooking the Steelers. They still view it as a playoff game, the same no matter who they play. But they say all the right things to the media, too. Like even Patrick Mahomes earlier today was talking about how, we're not looking past them. We treat this as every other playoff game. This is postseason football. Anything can happen. Andy Reid even said that the Steelers are playing like a 1 seed, which obviously
that's coach speak.
I don't think Andy Reid really believes that. But, he's saying all the right things. I think the Chiefs are treating this as an experienced team that's about to make a deep postseason run would. It's definitely on the opposite end of the spectrum where the Steelers are. You got your quarterback saying you got no shot, and you got your wide receiver saying that we're going to beat y'all.
Yeah, I know that it probably was sarcasm, and it probably wasn't to be taken as we have no chance in this game. But it seems like something that should be said in the locker room, and maybe should be said a little bit less confidently, I guess you could say, because it sounded pretty like, we don't really have a chance to win this game. We're just going to go out there and have fun. Like, that's something
that
like
you got to be a little more self-aware than that, because that's literally what everyone thinks, and then you're just saying what everyone thinks. And like I said, if you actually go and watch the video, the press conference, the way he said it, you almost couldn't tell if it was a joke or not.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that Ben Roethlisberger's had a great career, but in my opinion, it ends badly on Sunday. The Chiefs can send Ben Roethlisberger into retirement, and that would just be so special, and especially after losing that playoff game to them in 2016, after the Chiefs secured a bye. I think they were the 2 seed, and they just lost by field goals. I mean, what does this mean to you as a revenge game?
Oh, it means a whole lot. In fact, I've seen discussions on social media this week about, what's the most heartbreaking playoff loss you've been a part of as a Chiefs fan. And for me, it is that 2016 Steelers playoff game where the Chiefs only scored field goals, because to me, that was a game the Chiefs should have won. And I also feel like it was a year that the Chiefs could have beaten the Patriots in the next round, because the Chiefs, they had always given the Patriots a good game, and who knows what could have happened if they actually got themselves into that game. But obviously the Steelers didn't allow that to happen, and to me that was the most frustrating playoff loss of my time as a Chiefs fan. And Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers have been that team that's they were kind of the Chiefs, what they are now. Back then, the tables were turned. They were the high-powered offense. The Chiefs were the little engine that couldn't, and no one really had a ton of faith in them. They lost to the better team, and tables have turned, and I would love for the Chiefs to slay the dragon that is Ben Roethlisberger once and for all and send him on his way out.
Yeah, I love that. And, I said this in an article at kcsportsreport.com. It just seems like the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger are riding this emotional high. They weren't expected to be here. They went 9-7-1. They tied with the Lions for God's sake. I don't think that any Steelers fan, and specifically anyone on that roster, thought that making the playoffs was possible, and it wouldn't have been possible if the Colts didn't choke to the Jags and if the Raiders didn't beat the Chargers and they went on to tie. Like, it is really a miracle that they're in the playoffs, and I almost feel like they're almost just happy to be here and not happy or really focused on moving on, because they understand that they're not a very good football team. And I think that, whether or not you want to buy stock into what Ben Roethlisberger said, I think there's a lot of truth in what he said. I think that, he hears the noise, and most of the time the noise is pretty correct. And like you said, he basically just said something that everyone in the media and everyone really everywhere believes. They're not a good football team. And so, what are your thoughts on the way that the Chiefs could go about playing this game in a sense of, defensively? Let's switch over to the defense. So defensively, what is your game plan, and what is the move for Josh as the defensive coordinator?
Well, I'm playing man-to-man. I trust my defensive backs in this scenario to go ahead and man up against some of the Steelers' wide receivers, because as long as they're decent in their coverage, I don't trust Big Ben to place a good ball. He's bottom 5 in yards per attempt. I mean, he's down there with some of the worst quarterbacks in the league, Davis Mills, rookie Trevor Lawrence. Like, it's bad. The Steelers' offense is one of the worst in points per game. They can't move the ball. So, I trust my guys with Ben Roethlisberger back there throwing the football. Yeah. And, I know you have said that you would blitz a lot in this game, and I think they will, and I think that's part of Steve Spagnuolo's nature is to blitz. But, I would almost trust my front four to get home with Big Ben back there, because he's such a statue. He's one of the slowest quarterbacks leaving the pocket. Oh, yeah. I think the Chiefs could force a few fumbles in this game. I believe Ben Roethlisberger has 10 fumbles this year, which is a lot for a quarterback.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's a lot for a quarterback. And, if they just, keep some guys in the box too, make sure Najee Harris doesn't do anything, just play a C-plus game or better, you're going to win.
Yeah.
There's not really an elaborate plan, it's the Steelers offense.
And for me defensively, I think the move is to definitely blitz, but I almost agree with you. It's just see what your front four can do, because maybe your front four goes out there and gets like 3 or 4 sacks in the first 5 drives of the game, and there's no need to blitz. But I think yards after the catch is going to be a big thing. That's how the Steelers offense goes. And in the past couple weeks, the Chiefs have not done a great job, specifically against Jamar Chase, and even last week against Drew Lock at times. Maybe it was Tim Patrick, too. They had some problems taking guys down and missing some tackles, and I don't care what team you go up against, whether it's the Lions or the Steelers in the playoffs, you don't tackle guys, you go home. So it's just like getting back to the basics, playing your defense the way that it's drawn up, listening to your assignments, not blowing your assignments, cough, cough, Dan Sorensen. As long as you do things correctly on defense and follow the game plan, there's no reason why the Steelers will win this game. It will not happen. We've seen it happen in Week 16. The Chiefs put out a pretty solid game plan. I think you could do about the same thing. And the Steelers, they're going to have to result to trick plays. They're going to have to result in some misdirection. And I don't think that that's going to be enough to fool the Chiefs.
No, I totally agree. I think this defense has also gotten fast enough, and they've gotten, the talent. It's all come together. Acquiring Melvin Ingram, who, by the way, has a chance to go 3-0 in revenge games. Getting Willie Gay back healthy. Nick Bolton's going to be playing in this game. This Chiefs defense is fast. Well, Jerry Sneed's back there. The Steelers, I don't see them as an offense that's going to be able to move the ball on this team when the defense is playing well.
Yeah, and we talked about maybe resting players at some point in this game. I think from an offensive perspective, if you get up enough, you should rest your guys. But I almost think that you shouldn't burn through your offensive playbook against the Steelers because, let's face it, the Steelers, whether you throw out the simplest game plan that you used against the Broncos last week, I mean, the Steelers' defense isn't exactly world beaters. They're not, great. So you could probably win with your second-tier offense where you're not cutting everything in the playbook loose. And I think that, as you progress through the playoffs, you're going to face teams where maybe it would have been a good idea to hold back on some of those plays. Now, obviously, if you don't win Sunday, there is no more games. So in that aspect, yeah, throw everything you possibly have at the Steelers. But as we've kind of talked about, the Steelers, whether you or not you give them your best, it seems like you can still beat them.
Absolutely. I think it'll be a lot of yards after the catch type of stuff like we saw against the Denver Broncos. You said it a second ago. A lot of Byron Pringle. I said this to you before in our past conversations. I think this has a really good chance to be another Byron Pringle game, especially with Kelsey and Hill a little banged up. I think the Chiefs are going to go conservative. They're not going to empty the playbook. That's going to be later for some of their tougher matchups. They can get away with doing some of that stuff and being a little more vanilla, and also running the ball too. Just simply running the ball, handing off to your running backs against the Steelers defense that has struggled to stop the run. That's going to be key. And I would love to see my guy Jerick McKinnon get in there, who did not play the last time against the Steelers, but had a really good game to cap off the regular season.
Yeah, and honestly, as of right now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not practice on Thursday. I think he probably will play in this game, but as we've talked about before, if Clyde does miss this game, what is your level of concern, if there's any concern at all?
Yeah, there's not really any concern from me. Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't done a ton to separate himself from the other running backs on this roster. Regardless of how you feel about him or his career outlook, I don't think there's any really denying that he hasn't done a ton this year, and I just think the idea that Chiefs fans are worried about not having him for this game is, quite frankly, ridiculous. I don't think he's that type of game changer. I think you have enough in Darrell Williams, Derek Gore, and Jerick McKinnon. And look, I still think Clyde has something to give, and I've said I would love a running back by committee approach because all of them bring a little bit of something to the table. But you certainly don't need anything from Clyde in this game. You should still be able to win. I mean, heck, look what Derek Gore did in the last time these two teams played. I'm not concerned about Clyde missing the game.
Well, actually, Clyde went out in the previous Steelers game. He had that really good touchdown run where he connected with the Steelers defender, somehow stayed on his feet and got in the end zone. But, he got hurt at some point in that game. And, I think that whether or not you have Clyde in this game, the offensive game plan is not going to be to run the football. They're going to let Mahomes cook, and I think that's the best possible outcome. I mean, he's gotten you to 2 straight Super Bowls by cutting it loose in the playoffs and just going out there and playing his style of football, and it's been good enough to beat everybody in his path. And I think that if you stray away from that, you'd probably get a different result. I think that Mahomes is going to have to be great, not necessarily in this game, but Mahomes is going to have to be great moving forward because this is his time to shine. You know, as Chiefs fans, we seemingly wait every single year for this moment. The playoffs is really all that we care about because we've kind of turned into Patriots fans in the sense that the regular season, as long as you get into the playoffs, it doesn't matter. So I personally think the offensive game plan should be to let Mahomes throw the ball, get Byron Pringle involved, get Travis Kelce involved, let Tyreek Hill do his thing. And if the Chiefs came out in this game and said, we're going to run the ball and we're going to do it on 30 attempts for Clyde and Darrell and Jarek, I'd be a little bit upset. I mean, where do you fall on that?
Just whatever it takes to win. I won't say that I prefer them running the ball or throwing the ball in this game. Just whatever works. If they come out in the first drive and they're throwing the ball really well, then fine, throw the ball. If you're going to open the game up with a first and second run, like Andy likes to do a lot of the time, and this time it actually breaks off for a couple decent runs, and that works. Hey, go with that. I don't really have a preference. Just win the game however you can. I think either way, I think both phases of the Chiefs' offense is going to be effective in this game because I just don't think the Steelers' defense has a ton of answers for either.
Yeah, I agree too, and you bring up a great point. It doesn't matter how you win, just get it done. And I think that, as much as it is easy to say that the Chiefs come out in this game and they win by 3-4 touchdowns, that's possible because the Steelers aren't a very good football team, but this is the playoffs. Even though the Chiefs are a much better team on paper and in actuality, anything can happen. And this could be a game where the Chiefs maybe only win by a touchdown or maybe only win by a field goal. And to that, I would say, it's a little bit frustrating because you have no business playing it that close, but we're at the point in the season where it doesn't matter how you win, it just matters that you win. So I agree with you. I mean, if the Chiefs run the ball and it works, that's what we're going with. If the Chiefs can throw the ball effectively, that's what they're going to go with. And as long as they win the game, I mean, it doesn't really matter how you played on defense, and it doesn't really matter how you played on offense, but as long as you can get the dub, that's all that matters.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Just get the win and get out. And, we are predicting a little bit of a blowout in this game. You and I think the Chiefs will run away with it. But I also kind of wouldn't be surprised if it's something like the Broncos game, too, where we're a little disappointed in the final score. But it doesn't matter because the Chiefs win and they know they're facing an inferior opponent.
Yeah. And I think the part of being worried about the Chiefs overlooking the Steelers and not coming into this game prepared like they're playing the best team, sure, could that get caught up with you later on in the playoffs when you face a great team? Yeah, but you're not facing a great team this week. It doesn't matter how you win this game. It just matters that you win this game. And I think the Chiefs are going to take care of business, and it's not going to be particularly close. So, we kind of talked about the offense and what you would do and defensively what you would do. But what are your expectations? Because I think that offensively, we're both predicting a pretty big game and a pretty big blowout. But defensively, what do you think the Steelers can do against this Chiefs defense?
Nothing, really. Nothing all that well. I mean, they got Najee Harris. I mean,
maybe, if he plays.
Yeah, but I mean, even he doesn't scare me. He's had a decent rookie year, don't get me wrong, and I like Najee Harris. I loved him in college, too, but I don't know. I feel like you're just asking me that because, you feel like you have to, and it just gives us something to talk about.
Yeah.
No, but really, they don't do anything all that well, and it's Ben Roethlisberger, and he's not a quarterback that scares me. Me and you, when we did one of our other pre-games, I forget what game it was for, we were saying that, we were talking about the playoffs. We said, the Chiefs in the playoffs, what it comes down to is the team with the better quarterback because the team with the better quarterback wins 90% of the time in the postseason, and the Chiefs are going to have the better quarterback in almost 100% in their matchups, and the margin doesn't get much bigger than it is between Patrick Mahomes and Ben Roethlisberger.
I couldn't agree more, but are the Steelers going to put up a touchdown? Are the Steelers going to crack 20, or is this going to be a game in which the Chiefs defense just says, no, we're just going to hold you to under 10 points, and all you're going to get is field goals?
Poetic justice, all they're going to get is field goals, just like that 2016 playoff game with the Chiefs. they're going to send Ben on his way out, and he won't even throw a touchdown on this one.
I just love to hear that. And I have the same thing. I think, the Steelers might crack 10 points, but I could see them maybe getting one touchdown and then settling for field goals for the rest. But I think this is going to be an ugly game for Steelers fans. In the first game, it was unbearable trying to watch them move the ball. They're just so bad offensively. And, there's the possibility that Juju Smith-Schuster comes back for this game. I think it's highly unlikely, but, even with Juju Smith-Schuster, they're not really a threat. So, Josh, what is your final score prediction for this game, and then we'll wrap it up?
I'm going to go 36-12 Chiefs.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to go with 40-15, and that seems like a really lopsided score, but the Chiefs were up, I believe, by 2 or 3 touchdowns at halftime in the last game, and this is going to be a game in which the Chiefs are going to try their best to blow them out in the beginning and have the opportunity to rest their starters, because you didn't get that bye week, and this could be used as extra time for these players to heal up and not risk potential injury. And I think that the Chiefs win this game relatively easy.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. The Chiefs are going to run away with this one, and I think anyone else would be silly to predict anything different. I mean, the only person of note that I've seen predict the Steelers winning this game is Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. Go figure, Mike Florio. And the only reason he said is because he feels like there's going to be a fairy tale ending for Ben Roethlisberger. I think it'll be a fairy tale ending, just not in the way that Mike Florio thinks.
Yeah.
It'll be poetic justice for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it'll kind of be like the way that Tom Brady went out in New England and just by losing. So Ben Roethlisberger will not win this game, and the Chiefs will send him into retirement, and I have no doubts about that. But, Josh, where can the people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, just my name, Josh Fan, and you can also check me out on Twitter at ShowMeFB for Show Me Football, or my personal at JoshFan43.
I love that. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. The Instagram is KC_Sports Report, and the Twitter is at KC Sports Report. Obviously, go subscribe to Josh's channel. He does great work over there. And go check out his website, Show Me Football. He's on Twitter at ShowMeFB. And is it JoshFan42? 43. I was close enough. But JoshFan43 on Twitter. Go check out our website, kcsportsreport.com. More articles are being posted there. That's where I gave my initial thoughts about this game. But if everything goes according to plan, hopefully the Kansas City Chiefs end Ben Roethlisberger's career this Sunday at Arrowhead Stadium in the AFC Wildcard round.